Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on, man?
Just here to record another episode of Startup Hustle with you, buddy. And while we're here, today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io. We can help you build a software development team quickly and affordably. Now, today's topic is something you have had some experience with.
It is.
Through your kids. Eating, yes. Yes.
I have the munchies today. This is perfect.
Well, I thought that was after the CBD or the cannabis episode.
You know, I don't have a hangover today, but I am really tired from the weekend, and these snacks look really good.
Well, speaking of snacks, with us today, we have Lisa Ragan, who is the founder and owner of Safely Delicious. Now, you know I like it when you are interactive, so I want you to go to safelydelicious.com, and that way you have some idea what we're talking about. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Matt and Matt.
Yes, you can just yell Matt, and someone will likely reply.
Matt is awesome.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Matt squared.
Oh, I thought he was talking about me. He's probably talking about himself. So before we get too far into this, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the microphone for a second and give us an idea about what you do at Safely Delicious.
Sure. So Safely Delicious is a company. We manufacture, package, and sell allergy-friendly snacks that are free of the top 11 food allergens. They are also gluten-free. There is no cholesterol, nothing artificial, no preservatives. They're low in sodium and high in iron. And it's just an all-around great, delicious snack. So for people, whether they have food allergies or not, they seem to really enjoy our products.
I mentioned earlier that Mr. Watson, or should I say Master Watson, has some familiarity with this. You have a couple kids that have. Is it just one or two?
Just one. So I have 3 kids, and my middle son, who's 5, is allergic to cashews and pistachios.
And with that can be a rather violent reaction too.
Yes.
Like to the point that it's like remarkably dangerous.
So I first learned about his problem when he was about 2. I don't even remember, but Costco used to sell these really cool like cashew peanut cluster things, and they're delicious. And I was eating them, and I just gave him one, thought nothing of it. And then next thing I know, like 2 hours later, he like puked and could barely breathe, and like was having some sort of weird thing, didn't know what the hell was going on. We gave him some Benadryl, and we just kind of put him to bed, and he was fine, but it was like a really scary, weird thing. We didn't understand what was going on. It wasn't until the next day that we started doing the, like, thinking about it and figuring out, oh, I bet it was something in the nut cluster we gave him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna guess that's where most of these stories start, is about like that one.
Yes, absolutely. So, so a little background. So I actually, I have 4 children. Their age is now 13 to 22. And back in, I want to say it must have been 2004, my youngest, now is 13, he had a very serious reaction to cashews as well. So I get the cashew thing. But prior to that, my now 16-year-old, so he had been having really bad GI issues. And I guess it was around 2004. And he was diagnosed being allergic to peanuts.
Okay.
And then we also knew he had issues with the dairy and gluten. And soy was the other big one. We couldn't figure out why he just kept having really serious GI problems. And so at 18 months, he was diagnosed allergic to the peanuts and the soy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in 2004, my first introduction to the world of food allergies.
Yeah.
And having to now read all my labels, and grocery shopping was like a field trip that would take me 2 hours versus 15 minutes. And it was very overwhelming initially, because back then there weren't that many products that were free of multiple food allergens. They might be free of peanuts, or they might be free of gluten, but I needed to find stuff that was free of 4 ingredients for my kid. So then we jump ahead a few years later with that was child 3. Child 4 was the one that then had given him some food item. He was, I think, 16 months old, and it was dairy free. I knew he couldn't do the dairy thing, but it had the cashews in it.
Oh.
And he had the same thing, started vomiting, broke out in hives, just the whole gamut. It's like we gave him the Benadryl. We're like, oh my gosh, is this the same thing again like my other kid? And sure enough, it was. And his came back being allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, gluten, dairy, soy, and egg.
All the things.
All the things.
All the things.
Yes. And so we really, I had to then really, I was already being creative with my other son, but now I really had to be creative. Like, okay, what can I, as these kids were getting older and being in social settings and situations where other kids were eating, what kids would consider the fun snacks, my kids couldn't eat any of that stuff. And so,
well, that's the hardest part. When the kids are at home, we know what to feed them, and they have their things they eat all the time, and they're safe and whatever. But yeah, anytime you go to a party, it's like, okay, nobody feed my kid. You see him? Don't give him anything. Right.
And by the way, that's really what Matt sounds like in that situation.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Chocolate cakes. No, none of it.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Nothing.
I totally get it.
And even to the point where, one of the things we do here locally is our sweet and greet events.
Yeah.
And I've even asked Matt ahead of time. I'm like, just for different events that we might be bringing our kids to. I'm like, do we need to do anything to prepare for this? Because the last thing I want is for someone to have to rush out of an event because we put the wrong food.
Well, and I'm honestly in such a routine of it that I don't even think about it that much anymore because we pretty much just eat the same things all the time. So I don't think about it very much. But when we go to a party or something like that, we'll take like Oreos. Mm-hmm. And so Oreos are the snack that he'll get instead of cake or ice cream or something like that.
Right.
The biggest thing that we've had to deal with is ice cream.
Yes.
Even if you go buy ice cream and it's, you just buy vanilla, they're all made in the same factory. And ice cream is like got to be the worst when it comes to cross contamination.
Yes.
He's had 2 or 3 reactions to ice cream, and they were very small reactions, no big deal. But yeah, certain things that cross contamination like could be made in the same factory on the same equipment is a problem. But ice cream is the one that has always caused us the problem. So it's like strictly forbidden to have any kind of ice cream unless it's like soft serve, like custard or something, where it's just they only make vanilla custard. It's not like they put in walnuts or something like that and chop them up and make Rocky Road or whatever. Like it's just vanilla ice cream. So that's safe. But yeah, the whole cross contamination part of it is interesting too.
So Lisa, when it comes to Safely Delicious, obviously there was a issue that, had much similar to Matt, was affecting your family and your life. But at what point did you say, man, this is actually, I should, it's one thing to have an issue and to deal with it. It's another thing to build a business around it. So what's the backstory with that?
It's an interesting backstory. So I had actually been a stay-at-home mom for about 17 years. And had gotten divorced and had to go back into the working world outside of the home. And I'd gotten a job over at St. Michael's over in Leawood. And I was there about a year, and I happened to have made a batch of what's now known as our classic bites. And I took it to work, and everybody at work thought I bought it somewhere, and they all loved it. And they were like, and I was like, no. And I told them the story to it and everything. And they were like, oh my gosh, you should sell it. And this is, at that point, I had been making it for about 12 years. It looks and tastes similar to another well-known snack, but it is free of all the food allergens that my kids could never eat.
It's snack time. We got to try these.
Okay. And so, like I said, they couldn't believe that it was free of everything. They were like, it tastes exactly like something else.
It looks like puppy chow.
Yeah. And so, anyway, so they were, and at the time, being kind of new back into having to work and figuring out how I was going to, financially support myself, both short-term and long-term, I thought, well, perhaps this was the answer. Maybe doing this as a business, selling this at the time, one product might generate a little income for me, a little extra income. And so, so that same day, rather than doing work, I was like online coming up with different names of, gosh, what would I call this business if I was going to do a business? And so I came up with the name Safely Delicious because I thought the product was both safe and delicious. And then I called my mom, and a couple weeks later, she was like, she was going to be a vendor at a local church holiday event and was like, would you like to share some of the table space and you can come and sell your product? And I was like, sure, why not? So at the time, I do not come from a business background. I've worked and volunteered in food industry since I was 12. So being in the food space wasn't anything that was too scary or daunting, at least initially, until you really try to run this as a business. And it's a little bit different. But
well, typically when someone needs to create income for themselves, starting a business is probably not the best option. I mean, for real, it's not, because early in the early stages of any business, the likelihood that you're going to make money or provide income for yourself is low.
oh, absolutely.
Now that said, and you had came in earlier and she was holding a copy of $1 Million Bedroom, and it appeared as if she had read it. She's the one.
Wow.
I know.
I did read it.
I know.
had bookmarked pages. And
I haven't even read the whole thing.
It's a good book. You should read it.
It's different. Matt's read the part about him.
I use it mostly as a doorstop.
Yeah.
No, it's a good
God.
read. It's definitely a good read. I learned a lot.
So early in the book, I mentioned that anytime you start a new business, you need to understand your path to revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that can have a shorter path to revenue is selling tangible things, like an actual product. Now, it doesn't mean you have the product, but things like services and something physical can be a shorter path to revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once again, difficult to have any.
Right.
You have no clients, you have no customers. You technically are serving a food product, so there's some FDA requirements and different stuff like that. So once you decided to do this, what were some of the immediate obstacles that presented roadblocks on your path to revenue?
Well, I'm going to guess it was pretty easy to put this stuff in a Ziploc bag and sell it to other moms, right? But to get it to like package like this and say it's in a special, made in a special place and like all like that stuff, right?
Yes.
Like
it's been a
journey.
It has been a journey. It's been a process, and we're still in the process mode, if you will. I initially, as you pointed out, the first time I sold the product to consumers, it was in Ziploc bags and it was stickered, and the ingredient label was actually in alphabetical order. Like I knew nothing about selling food, but quickly started learning. And after about the first year of just making it in my home kitchen, my personal kitchen, and selling it at local events and that sort of thing, I knew that I wanted to, from just the circles I was in because of the food allergies with my kids. And when people got to hearing and knowing that we had this kind of a product. And at the time I only had the classic bites. And then my boyfriend was like, what if you made it with dark chocolate? I'm like, great. So now we have 2 products, and that's all I had for a while. And, from getting involved with different local events, I started meeting people who were able to get me connected with other people, where after my first year, I was about a year along, and I met someone who actually had a commercial kitchen. It was still about 40 minutes from where I lived one way, but I knew if I wanted to be in a retail space, it had to be being manufactured somewhere commercially. So I started doing that, and I would drive. And during all that time, just let me also side note here, I was still working full time at St. Michael's. So when I started this, like I did not actually leave that job until like last year or about a year and a half ago.
And for those listening, St. Michael's is a Catholic church and school. I know that because it's right around the corner from my house.
Yep.
But were you a teacher there?
No, I was the parish administrative assistant.
Okay.
And so I was doing that full time. And then when I didn't have my kids, evenings and weekends, I would drive out to this kitchen and I would spend maybe 8 to 10 hours just making the product and packaging it. And at the time, again, my packaging was I very quickly, after the Ziploc bag weekend, I went and was selling it in these white bakery bags that had little windows, and I was still stickering the whole thing up
kind of
myself.
like what you like get some donuts in, or something like that.
Exactly. And the big turning point for me really into and what the version you see now of packaging is like our 3rd version. It's been edited a few times.
It's very nice and professional.
I was going to say the packaging does look great. I mean,
when
I look at this, I mean, I definitely see this as like that. You know, I say this a lot, but you got to look like you're in the business of whatever it is you say you do.
Yes.
And that definitely, would you say that passes that this passes?
Yeah,
that
it looks
test?
very professional.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the thing I like about it too is it's, well, by the way, I do want to say you picked a great name.
Thank you.
I think that Safely Delicious is It doesn't necessarily tell me what's in the bag, but as a name, and I want to commend you on not trying to be overly clever or overthink your logo. By the way, if you're watching, go check it out here at the 14th minute of the show. But on the YouTube channel, I'm holding this up, and we'll put some pictures of these on the at Startup Hustle Podcast Instagram. But I look at this right away, and I can see what's in it. I see it says safely delicious, big white letters at the top, allergy-friendly snacks. And I like the fact that there is a streaming banner of sorts that goes gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, soy-free, egg-free, and vegan, all on the front. Now, that has to be a product of your frustration of reading product labels, right? Like reading the ingredients on the back of stuff.
Yes. And how I ended up with the packaging was I had applied in, I want to say it was 2017, spring of 2017, to be part of the Specialty Food Association. And they accepted me, and they notified from the land of Kansas here that does food business, and they were as a resource in the state. And they contacted him and said, hey, you've got this new Kansas business, and the Fancy Food Show in New York City is in 2 months, and you still have a booth for the Kansas area at the show. Maybe this business might want the booth.
Nice.
So they called me and they were like, do you want it? I'm like, sure. Didn't ask how much it was. Had no idea. But I was like, sure, we'll be there. It was very expensive. But, and so in 2 months' time, I quickly went and had to go from being in white bakery bags to bags that looked like I belonged on the shelf next to Enjoy Life Foods and Made Good and all those other big companies that I'd been purchasing their products for years. I needed to look like I belonged on that same shelf in the grocery store. So when I showed up at the trade show, I actually only had prototypes. I didn't even have the bags printed yet. It was just this is what it's going to look like once I get some orders. And
how did that show go? Did that help really propel you forward?
Well, that was another big turning point for our business. Why we were there, it was literally like 2 p.m. on the last day of the show. And some of the management team from Ball Foods grocery stores here in Kansas City, they were at the show. And what they told me was they were getting ready to leave, and they were kind of like, let's just go by and see who showed up from Kansas this year. And so they came over and they tried my products.
Kansas, home of the Chiefs, by the way, right?
Yep.
No, that's Missouri. Also named Kansas.
Sorry.
No. So anyway, so they tried my products and they loved them, and they were like, why don't we know about you? And I was like, I'm fairly new. And so they're like, we need to meet with you when you get back home, and we need to get you in all our stores and help you get this going. And that's awesome. That's
the support we need right there.
Their grocery stores were the first ones that we, 2 months later, they started rolling me out again, still working full time at St. Michael's. And now I'm going to be getting released in grocery stores right in Kansas City.
So how long ago was that?
That was fall of 2017.
Okay.
So I tell people, I feel like we're really only 2 years old, because that's really when, as a business, I felt like if you want to call it, become legit. Like now we're getting into Costantino's, and we're like in all the Hy-Vees, and I mean, it didn't all happen at once, but
these are all grocery store chains here in town.
Yes. But the Hy-Vees
you're reaching
Midwest.
a rather large audience here on Startup Hustle.
Yes.
So 190 countries, all 50 U.S. states.
Great.
Where else do you have distribution for this? Is it on places like Amazon and stuff like that?
Yes. We just released out on Amazon about like 2 weeks ago. So we're very new on Amazon.
Everybody listening, you can get this on Amazon.
Yes. According to Andrew Morgan's, our local Amazon expert, getting involved. Do you know Andrew?
Andrew actually is who connected me with the person I'm working with. He works with some people. I met with Andrew to do Amazon, and I wasn't quite ready for Andrew, but he had someone he works with for smaller businesses. And so he directed me to Aaron, and I've been working with Aaron, who Andrew works with.
Aaron as in Aaron Folk?
Aaron Hulse.
Oh.
No, Aaron Hughes. I'm sorry. Aaron Hughes.
Sure.
No, different Aaron, a man Aaron.
Okay. But
I know Aaron.
Aaron Folk spells her name like a man. Hi, Aaron. And why?
I know that Aaron too, but that's not the same Aaron. Yeah.
So, well, that's good. So you found the distribution, which is, I want to point something out. You mentioned the story, and you tell the story of the specialty food show. There was no luck involved there. Like, you took a big risk in going out there, and on the last day of shows like that, it's easy to just mail it in. And, like, you're already tearing down your booth. You don't care. But, sometimes that's, she mentioned she had found a copy of $1 Million Bedroom because we were at the fund conference.
Okay.
And at the end of the second day, we were beginning to pack up the full scale boxes we
Right.
have. And I was like, no, let's go give these out.
We're not carrying this shit home.
No, we didn't bring it here to bring it home. So, and did you find that box on your table?
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
had happened was I was there the first day, and that's where I saw you speak and all the other speakers
Matt
and that
was
sort
there,
of
too.
thing. It
You
was
were
a-
on that panel, right?
I was on a panel.
It was a great conference. I really learned a lot. And so, but the second day, I had to sneak away for a couple hours because I had to go to Topeka for a luncheon where I was receiving an award. But it's like I didn't want to miss the opportunity of being able to showcase our products. And so they let me set up my booth area. And then I was like, I raced to Topeka, did the lunch for 2 hours, raced back, and I get there, and it's like only like most people were. I was like, oh well. And then there was your box, and I was like, cool. And then I was like, but you weren't. I was like, I wanted to find you to thank you, and I was so anyway. I took it home, read the book, and it was great. I learned a lot. So
well,
I
I'm glad.
appreciate it.
I'm glad that worked. I actually had a completely different email about that recently, and someone had said the same thing. They're like, I found your stuff sitting at the table. The point is take a shot.
Yeah.
Like what they say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Well, what's interesting is, in theory, you should have been able to get to ball the group here anyways. But because you went to New York and looked probably a little more legitimate to them, they're like, hey, this lady's must be big, must be going somewhere.
Or
right?
as
And you're like, I'm scrambling to get
I
here, and
have
I got
no
my
idea.
prototype.
well, it's
Yeah.
committed
But to
and
them,
committed
Yeah.
and committed to the
Yeah.
hustle. Because,
Yes.
I'm sure when you're, and I don't know anything about food distribution, like literally nothing, but I would assume that a lot of these places get people kind of like beating on their door with
Yeah.
the white bakery bag.
Yes.
Hey, carry this. And you're sitting there going, oh man, I need you to be a little further down the line than this.
Yeah.
But being able to
Yes.
see that you'd made some progress and stuff like that. Okay. So now you get into some grocery stores, you're on Amazon and some other stuff. What are some of the challenges that you faced when it comes to growing the business? Because I see that this doesn't exactly expire. Is this like
Well, so one
it's like a year.
Yes. So initially for us, some of our initial challenges were, which some of it we still do. So when we manufacture our products, so we hand make our products all ourselves. I have a team of people. We manufacture them, we package them, we do it all ourselves. And initially, it was everything was manual. And so the best we could get on our shelf life was 6 months. So I work with there's a food science lab up at K-State.
Okay.
And so I've worked with them from the beginning of when we were starting to go into grocery stores to make sure that we were doing it like it was all right, what we were doing. And they were the ones who also helped me create the nutrition labels and the ingredient label. Like, again, all that stuff was stuff I, didn't know how do people get all that information. So they were the ones initially helping me with all of that. But then, where was I going with this thought?
By the way, while you
Uh,
collect that, I did just try these. They are delicious.
That's pretty good.
Thank
Do you believe so? We were talking about the
Yes.
distribution and the
thank
challenges.
You. Okay,
but
so the challenge was, like I said, thank you, was we needed to figure out, like, I know I need to have a longer shelf life. We had been approached by people internationally. We're not there yet. We've been working with the Food Export Association. Eventually, I do see our products now internationally. Right now, we've been growing it nationally. It's in 13 states around the U.S. and growing. But getting that longer shelf life was really going to be the ticket for us, because especially like right now, we do distribute to Hy-Vee. Like, I ship pallets of these products to the Hy-Vee warehouse in Iowa, and then they distribute and sell them to all their Hy-Vee health markets throughout the U.S.
do you send
And
those to Iowa and then they send
Yes.
them back here?
Yes.
Interesting.
Originally,
That makes sense.
Well, before I got into their warehouse, I was doing direct, going around stores and filling the shelves myself.
Okay.
And I still do that for all my Cosentino and Ball Foods accounts. I still do that.
Okay.
But with the distribution channel part, getting that 1 year shelf life has been huge. And so this summer, after we had gotten an SBA loan, I did invest in getting some equipment that helped us with our bag sealing and our flushing and everything to help extend that shelf life.
Yeah. What
And
did you
that's
have
been
to
a big
do?
deal.
Add a certain ingredient or what?
No. It's nothing like that. It's just the process. It's just the equipment that when you it goes through this machine thing, and then it just basically flushes out the oxygen so that and I
It's
have
about
like
the packaging.
Oh, there's no oxygen in the bag.
there's very little versus initially, like if you just close a bag and seal it, it would have like maybe a level of 19% oxygen.
Okay.
Like the air we breathe is about
Okay.
21%.
And that'll cause it to spoil.
Right. So it would have maybe a 6 to 8 month shelf life. Well, now because of the process and what we're using, it can get the percentage down to anywhere from like about 6 or 7% oxygen in the bag, which allows us this 12 to 15 month shelf life now. So it's huge because that does open us up. Now we can actually even go after which we're working on right now, getting into other distribution channels, other big distributors who will feel comfortable. They get the product and it might sit there for a couple of weeks. They're not working and nobody's feeling antsy like, oh my God, we got to get it and got to push it and get it sold in the next like 2 months. So that's been big for us.
Is something else with the sale of this stuff. So I would imagine, all right, so my only experience is something like books. And if you send your books out to Barnes and Noble and they don't sell, they send them back when you get to take them back, which can equate to a giant warehouse full of unsold books. It's kind of the same as spoilage or something else. I would think that as a brand new product, getting people to care, is that a bit of a challenge?
Yes.
And do you have to, in fact, send agree to take the stuff back if people don't buy it?
We don't take it back. Okay, let me say this. The stores here locally that I actually manage here locally, initially when our products were at the 6-month shelf life, I would go in and pull the bags when they were within a month of expiring. And then I would turn around and donate them to certain local charities where they could then give them out. So there's like a homeless program. I give it to them. There's the Food Equality Initiative. It's a food bank for people with food allergies. I'd give it to them. So it never ever got to the point of I had to throw away product. And then when it comes to with the Hy-Vee distribution, they only once in the last year I've been working with them did they contact and say, we have a couple cases that are close to expiring. And they asked me, they said, do you mind if we just donate them? I'm like, absolutely.
They actually check that shit because I don't know how many times I've been in the grocery store and bought stuff that was expired.
Well, that's once, that's once it's in the store. And I can't
once it's in the store.
I can't speak to it, but at the warehouse, like they keep on top of it in the warehouse before they're going to send it to the stores. So that's how that was handled.
Multiple times I've had that happen.
Yeah. So I've not, fortunately, again, been blessed so far, not had like a big issue with spoilage or returned product because of it being expired. It was more, like I said, and it was when we were 6 months. Now that we're a year, we haven't seen that.
So if I went to Hy-Vee today, would I find this in like the snack aisle or like the health, like there's a
It'd be in the health
section?
market. It'd be in the health market in the gluten-free aisle section where there'd be like other allergy-friendly like cookies and maybe it's usually where the cookies are. But that's the thing is our product is a snack bite. It doesn't, I'm like, almost feel like I'm trying to create a new category here because
I was going to ask you.
It's really hard when I've been trying to.
Is there anything else like this?
No, we are the only snack like this.
I'm going to guess there's things that are like kind of like crackers or cookies.
It's not though.
But this isn't either one of those.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
candied Chex Mix.
Yeah, it's like Chex Mix.
Yeah. But
without the peanuts.
Or
and
gluten,
without the Chex,
or dairy,
I guess.
or soy, or peanut.
True.
It's without any of it.
So I have a question. So you have to make this stuff.
Yes.
Is it difficult to source all the ingredients? Like you don't get to use dairy. There's no nuts. So much of everything has soy in it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have any eggs. It needs to be vegan. It can't be gluten free. Like what's left?
Other ingredients that
like
are
what?
not that way.
Well, so speaking of that for a second, if you have kids that are super sensitive to this, you can't even buy beef that was fed soy and eat the beef if you're that allergic to soy. So if you're somebody who's definitely allergic to some of these things, it's really brutal because you can even buy like meat products and stuff that would have been fed soy.
Wow.
I mean, it's brutal.
But
luckily, you don't have any meat, so you don't have to deal with that part of it.
I've lived my whole life like completely allergy free. I mean, I really have, and so it's. I mean, honestly, I'm not informed at all. I'm very naive, and I have a very difficult time. I don't want to say empathizing, but relating to the struggle because it's just not something it's ever been a thing for me. And I've known a lot of people that have different kinds of allergies. The closest I've come is when I lived in North Carolina. I realized that I may be allergic to mold, which just gives me a headache. It's not like the end of the world. It's not like, eating something that's going to like close your throat and you're going to die.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to carry an EpiPen so a lot of that, but I mean, I get it. The struggle's real.
So what is the future for you? Where do you see this going?
Well, I see it becoming a
To the
snack.
moon.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, right now, is your distribution still
Yes.
mostly Kansas City?
No, through the Midwest.
Okay.
So we're in, like I said, we're in close to 200 locations throughout the United States.
Nice.
And then there's also several online businesses that are online stores or wholesale channels for other food, or maybe grocery markets or businesses where they sell products like ours, so they can purchase through that. Our website's an online store.
I saw Shark Tank was coming to Kansas City. You're going to go
Yeah.
audition to be on Shark Tank?
Yes, I've
Are you
done
really?
it. Yes,
You are?
Yes, I've done it already a couple times. I guess I'm not big enough yet. I don't know. They haven't paid. We've tried
You
it.
never know.
we've
You got
tried
to
it.
you got to keep taking shots.
That's exactly so. Yeah. So I've done it. The first time I did it was we drove to Dallas, Texas. My youngest, he went with me. He's part of my pitch. And then the last year we drove to Lincoln, Nebraska, and pitched again.
Nice.
And he went with me.
Keep
and
trying.
so he's like, hey, I think we should do it one more time. So I told him, I said, hey, I hear they're going to be here in Kansas City. He was like, because he kept thinking I'd be taking him on another road trip this year. Like, where are they coming this year? And I
We're
was
going
like,
to Cleveland,
I know.
guys. Oh,
So-
maybe not.
So,
What do you
yes.
What do you sell these for?
So they retail, the big bags retail anywhere from like $5.69 to $5.99.
It's not bad.
And then the little guys will retail anywhere from $2.49 to $2.99. So it just depends on, who's selling them.
So you'd count this as
But
a single serving.
That
the
is,
smaller bag.
yep. The 1 ounce bag is a single serving.
Okay.
And then the big bag is 3
What do you have
servings.
there, Matt? Raspberry bites?
Yeah, I got raspberry. We
'Cause
got
I had
lemon,
mocha
pumpkin,
bites.
mocha.
I ate the classic.
Yeah, the classic. Was
Now, can you make a keto friendly one, and then I'll be able to eat it, because I'm currently on that diet, and I'm finding like it. That's probably the closest thing that I can relate to when it comes to an allergy thing. Because
Right.
with the keto diet, you eat like 2 bites of the wrong thing, and you just like ruin that whole day,
Oh.
that whole day of effort. You know what won't ruin a whole day of your effort, Matt? It's playing mixtape.
Yes.
And it's that time. Have you played mixtape before?
No.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Oh, yeah. So I've pulled a card from the mixtape deck. You can go to mixtapethegame.com. You can also download the mixtape app. If you have Spotify Premium, you'll love it. If you don't, you might not. It's available on iOS and Android. And we fixed the bugs from the episode where we tried to announce the new app, and it crashed. All right, so I'm going to read a scenario, and we're all going to name a song that comes to mind, and then we will vote. And you may not vote for yourself. What song will you sing during your The Voice audition? I'm going to go with She Bangs by Ricky Martin. And you know what? With that, while you guys think of your answers, I was once friends with William Hung, the guy who made that song kind of famous from American Idol.
Yeah.
And then he unfriended me. I don't know why he doesn't want to be friends anymore. So William, where are you, buddy? And that one went out for you. Does anyone else have an answer?
I'm thinking.
You can literally name any song
I'm going
in
to
the
go
history
with
of songs.
Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, because I know I can belt that shit out.
Yeah, you do.
I'm going to nail it.
You
all
have
of
the
it.
voice of an.
Yes.
You want to try some?
No.
Come on.
No, I'm saving it up for later.
Oh my goodness. Probably the song Roar by Katy Perry.
Oh, all right.
That'll probably get Watson's vote. Will it?
I got to go with the shebangs because of the William Hung thing. That's just,
I mean, that guy rocked that
Yeah.
on American Idol. I mean, he was like probably, in some
it's
ways,
the only reason we know who he is.
that could have been like one of the original, quote, viral videos. Does that sound about right? Did you know anything else that went viral? Like, think about that.
Oh,
That
the
was
first one was the goofy guy with the Roman song or whatever. I don't remember what it was.
Well, but my point
Oh,
was
yeah.
he was pretty an early stage.
Yeah,
All
it
right,
was.
so I'm going to vote for Lisa.
Okay, I'm voting for you.
Thanks, Lisa. Looks like you get to determine who might win.
I'm voting for
For me?
Shebang.
You know
right.
what? And I never do this because I usually pass this off, but I'm going to actually do a selfie video straight. I'm going to shoot the money gun into my own camera. Here we go. And I'm going to take my own Wow, so much money came
You
out. It
popped the
clogged.
batteries out and everything.
I don't know how that happened. Anyway,
Hey, I'm going to Las Vegas in 2 weeks. Can I take the money again?
You may not.
Okay.
Well, now we know. We'll have a video that knows what. Whoa, I did. Wow, how did? God, the batteries came out.
Rejected.
There's literally like money. Like, wow. Okay.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
How many people or kids these days have one of these allergies? Like, what percentage of the people?
32 million people have food allergies
It's
in our
10% of the
country.
almost 10% of the country.
And then about, if I remember correctly, I want to say there was about 15 million kids that have at least one allergy. And then it's a pretty significant number of kids that have more than one allergy.
So
So basically, 2 kids in every class have a food allergy of some sort.
it is insane. So, I have little
Yes.
kids, and it's like there is somebody in every class that's allergic to either strawberries or soy or peanuts. And
Yes.
my kid is cashews. Mine's
Yes.
tree nuts.
I remember
It's
the
something.
strawberry
all the
thing.
things, eggs, dairy,
Yes.
all of it.
Yes.
Crazy.
Nut allergies feel. Those are that's like a new phenomenon because I'm 44 years old and I don't ever remember people having nut allergies.
Then that's what
when
I
was a
wanted to
kid.
talk about for a second. Is
Yes.
So yeah, when I was younger, I don't remember any of this shit. But so any idea what the statistics are for other countries?
I don't know those.
I don't think
I
other
don't-
countries have these problems the same way we do.
So you think we're creating
It's
created
something
by some
about
product of
what
our
we
diet?
eat, our
Or
environment.
the environment, maybe even the way we process our food, the way we
Something.
grow our food, what's
Well,
coming from
according
the
to-
earth, and how we just keep the farm fields. It's just all different now.
According to my wife, some of it has to do with some of so when our kids were young, she would give them a little tiny bit of peanut butter
Right.
and different stuff. So according, her theory of it was some of it had to do with the way we introduced foods to our own kids. And meaning now all of a sudden they haven't had any of something. And now
Yeah,
they're
but-
3 and then their body it starts to reject it. I can't remember what the theory of it was, but
But a lot of these things, so mine was allergic, and he was 2 or 3 to cashews, and you
Right.
said
Mine
one of
was-
yours was
he
18
was-
months.
Yeah, Spencer was 16 months old, so
Most
it's
little
like
kids don't eat this stuff,
this,
Yeah.
right?
and
It's
to
not like
start-
we
if-
didn't introduce it to
Or
them.
if we
It's
would,
not,
well, that would have been their first time. That was kind of, if you want to call an indirect way we introduced it to him. I gave him food that had cashews in it, and it wasn't that much because it was one of many ingredients in something. So it wasn't
yeah.
it was, and he had that reaction. And
In theory, these kids
Yes.
could be living on nothing but mother's milk at this point, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Not
right.
a lot of foods.
Right. And so, but then the other thing is, so then my other son, when I came to thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure we realized it was the soy that was causing his GI stuff because I knew he couldn't do dairy. So I kept, when he turned a year old, giving him soy products and rice products like soy milk, rice milk. And they were like, it's the soy that keeps giving him all these problems. And it was from that test. It just so happened. They said, oh, by the way, and it looks like he's off the charts with peanut. I'm like, wonderful, because I hadn't done peanut yet.
Yeah.
So that was we got kind of saved by that one.
I just
So-
think it is definitely a crazy phenomenon in the United States. Like you said, 10% of people or something have these allergies, and we're both directly affected by it. But I don't think it's near as big a problem in other parts of the world. But it'd be interesting as as your business continues to grow to figure out how, if you sell it internationally and how
Right.
other countries.
I think a
Yeah,
lot of it. I think in a lot of countries, you look at Africa or wherever, they're probably not even eating processed foods there.
right.
And these are things
right.
that these are added ingredients that we have created.
I think it's got to be my theory is it's all the herbicides and all the crap they put on the wheat and everything
on the fields.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's got
It starts breaking down and messing
what's
with
that Monsanto crap they're trying to outlaw?
Yes.
Roundup.
Yeah, that they soak all our food in and then we eat it.
I don't
That's
think
gotta
they
be really
soak
good
our
for
food
us.
in Roundup.
They do the wheat.
There's
They hose
definitely.
it down.
But if you go to safelydelicious.com,
There will be no
You
Roundup.
can
No
get
Roundup.
gluten,
Yeah.
dairy, nut, soy, egg free products
Yep.
that's also vegan.
Or if you just like food, they're delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, that too. So, Lisa, we like to finish our episodes of Startup Hustle by doing what we call the Founders Freestyle, which can be exactly what it sounds like. In your case, I'm going to make a request. We don't have food product companies on here a lot. So I'd like to directly request that you give some input or advice to anybody that has a food product that they want to get out to the market.
Advice. Well,
or just like something based on your experience. It could,
yes.
I mean, it could be anything. Like there's always something that we forget to think about as entrepreneurs that's not, not good.
Well, I will share this. So a lot of what I know and have come to know and learn that I would then share with others is aligning yourself with the right groups or organizations that will have and know all the information you don't know. So like for me, when it came to food, if you're a Kansas-based business, being part of From the Land of Kansas as a food business is a definite must. Working with the Small Business Development Center over at Johnson County Community College. That was like a major, that I started with them right around the same time I went to the trade show. And so they were able to, as a food business, give me resources and direction of things I need to be thinking about and considering. At some point, if I was going to go commercial, I needed to be able to, I was using this space that was 40 minutes one way out of the way. And I worked in that space for a whole year. That's the other thing. When you start food, you can be making it out of your kitchen. There is a state law where it's like farmers market law or something like that. Anyway, the point of it is if you're under a certain amount of revenue, you can be selling it out of your kitchen. But if you want to, like I did, want to get it into retail and grocery stores, you've got to be in that commercial space. And as we were growing quickly, and just the logistics between the two jobs, basically, and the drive time and just all the logistics of using someone else's space, not having my own space, I started working with the Department of Agriculture here in Kansas about what would it look like and what would I need to do to create my own commercial space. So my space now is my space.
Okay.
And we've been in it now going on 2 years. So I know unequivocally that what is in my space, I don't ever have to worry about cross-contamination issues. I don't have to worry about people coming in that I don't know. But I worked very closely with them of what that would look like. And so then when it came time to be inspected from the state of Kansas to be recognized as a food processing plant, or I had my first FDA inspection last summer, making sure we were doing all the things we were supposed to be doing as a food business. There's a lot more, though, when you're doing allergies than if it's just a basic food business. But I think there's so many resources, again, when you're doing the food thing, understanding and realizing, you're going to have to learn about nutrition labels and you're going to have to learn about ingredients. Like I know there's programs out there that you can probably take classes to do that. But for me, I just jumped right into it and I had an idea. I had a product and then I started seeking out, people that could help me navigate what I needed to do and who I needed to be talking to in order to sell a food product.
Well, and I think in any kind of business, we start it, and there's a lot of times where we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
There's just so many things you do not know about and will not know about, like
Right.
packaging and labeling and all these things.
Right.
And you just got to get out there and ask.
Right.
Ask for help. There's people in the
Absolutely.
community that will help, and that's what's great about it.
I did you have something?
I'm sorry. I was just going to add, though, the other thing, though, because I will go speak over at the college once a month to their business basics in a day class. And they will have some people in there that'll have food businesses and they'll, speak to me afterwards. And one of the things I do share with them, or I always think about and want them to think about, is whatever your product is that you're making. Like people go, oh, I've got a cookie business. Well, what makes your cookie any different than the other cookies that are already out there? Like what's going to differentiate your product from what's already being sold in the market? And what, I always hear, oh, what problem are you solving? Well, with food, that maybe there's a problem, maybe there's not. But like for me, the problem that I solved was I didn't feel there was still enough products out there that are free of multiple food allergens. It's still a small handful that are free of top 8 or top 11.
When you think about food, it doesn't seem like there'd be a problem because there's lots of foods. But if you have allergies, like, hey, I have a little kid, we're going somewhere, he needs a special snack. That's the problem. The problem is my little kid needs a special snack.
Right. And you want
there
your
is a
kid,
problem.
Right. And so, and the problem also being that the kids that have the food allergies, unfortunately, do feel different and sometimes will get singled out. I know my kids, they'd have a party at school and, somebody bring in the sweet treat, chocolatey treat, whatever. My kid be handed a piece of licorice. It was like, oh, yay.
Yep.
So, trying to make kids feel more, they talk so much about inclusiveness and kindness and all these things of how kids should be, with each other. And so, again, our products have kind of helped address that so that, and all kids eat it and they don't know it's allergy friendly. And that's kind of the beauty of it too.
So did you have anything else to add, Matt?
No, I think this is great. Like I said, I didn't know these existed. I honestly don't go down the health food aisles usually looking for this kind of stuff, but I will definitely get some of these for my kids, and we will try them.
Now,
Thanks.
before I do my freestyle, once again, today's episode was brought to you by Fullscale.io. I want to make sure that you go to safelydelicious.com and check it out. I haven't had a chance to try all of the flavors, but the one I tried was good. I think oftentimes you try to get foods that have a, quote, specialty nature about them, and then you eat them and you're like, wow, that's why I don't eat these. It was good. One of the things that I wanted to I wanted to reemphasize, and for those of you that aren't listening here in our hometown of Kansas City, many of the things that Lisa mentioned were all local resources. They were groups to help businesses grow, to give them advice. And I think really the main thing is find other people that are doing what you want to do and ask them a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really just like, it doesn't matter what industry, it doesn't matter if it's food, software, service, anything. Find the people that are doing what you want to do and just be bold enough to ask them. Say, hey, you're the only person I can think of right now that might have some information, and I would really appreciate it if you would give me a couple minutes of your time. Make it fast and easy for them to do it. Don't ask people to go out of their way to help you. Instead, come to them. That's just a 10 cents worth of advice that'll probably result in $1 million worth of free input. But, past that, don't be afraid to ask, and you got to get out there, especially with products and things like that. And you have to show people what you're doing. If you look back at Lisa's story, she went to a food show, realized it was kind of expensive. Had that not occurred, she might be telling a different story today. So you just got to get out there. Marketing's all about putting whatever it is that you're selling in front of the highest number of eyes possible, which is why Super Bowl commercials are expensive, right, Matt?
Yep.
That's your marketing strategy for next year, right?
Yeah,
Super Bowl
absolutely.
commercials. Yeah. So, well, we better get back to scripting that.
All right.
I'll see you next time.